Hello, welcome. Donga my channel. Zero grinds and Scandi grinds. Most of my knives, if not all of them, I would say, are approaching the zero grind because I don't like shoulders. Okay, there are exceptions actually. So not all, perhaps not most. But here is a petrified fish hummingbird. You can still kind of see the shape of how it once had a primary and secondary bevel, but they're blended in. That's pretty easy. And so there is no precise line where you can say this is the one bevel and this is the other. According to my understanding, that's what a zero edge is. And this would be a full convex to zero, a file knife sent to me by Patrick Gerst with his Hamaguri grind. I've kind of gone over it myself. And yeah, it's basically convex to zero. And that's pretty easy, pretty simple by my lights. No, I mean, it is actually pretty hard to do by hand. So he's done this on a belt initially, on a slack belt. And then I have come in and gone over, possibly with the Tormek, but certainly also by hand. So yeah, how do you convex on a hard surface? Well, by movement, by rocking, by controlled rocking motion. And so, you know, this thing about the consistency of angle that you're supposed to have when you're sharpening kind of goes out of the window, but it kind of becomes even more important because you have to be consistent in two angles, but you're moving back and forth between them, right? Because you don't want to over travel in one direction or the other. But yeah, that's the convex. I love a convex. Kind of my stock in trade, really. I just generally think that convex works better. Try and convex everything. You know, look at something like this that all looks fairly crisp and flat, but no, this is convexed to zero on this side, and on this side it's hollow, but here it's flattened out and then convexed to zero. Easy. Cuts extremely well. No trouble going through a toothpick. I wouldn't have thought, you know. Well, that wasn't on the cardboard, but you know, that'll do fine because look how robust it is. Did I speak too soon? Did I just do that now on the toothpick? Kind of looks like I did, huh? Well, let's try that again. Now I need to know. Let's go down here. No, maybe not then. Might have already been there. Or maybe it was just too thin there. I don't know. Anyway, that's your super fancy Aogami. And right, so that's the to zero thing very vaguely covered. But then now we have the Scandi grind to zero. That's a completely different thing. In fact, I think it's kind of an impossibility, assuming that what you're calling a Scandi grind is, does the lighting keep changing or is that just on my screen? It's kind of tripping me out. Right, Scandi grind, like here, are the blades that I'm working on for Ulgat. And so, because that's what a Scandi grind is in principle, so low flat grind to zero. That's what I'm trying to do. I hope it's just my screen that keeps turning up and going down in brightness like that. But if it's actually happening for you as well, I'm sorry. Let me try and stay with the program here. See how that's not entirely flat? Because I've put this on a 1000 after putting it on some kind of rougher grit, and that's the flat that I'm making with the 1000. So that shows that it's not entirely flat. Now, of course, with hand sanding, you'll blend that in, and that's a lot flatter than you'll find on most flats on any knife out there, pretty much. Because this is, a heat-treated piece of steel that I've then flattened by hand. Yeah, so if you really want to make that flat, how do you actually make a flat? Because let's say this here is fairly flat, but if I put this onto something else that's fairly flat, there's going to be a bit of rock, and you're going to end up with a convex of sorts. So see how this is hollow? That will sit flat. It won't rock. A little bit of rock. No rock. So that's what a hollow will do for you. And that's what I've been doing on these blades for Ulfgard. Because I needed to raise the bevels higher and flatten everything out. So I put a hollow in the middle with the wheel. Try and get it as in the middle as I can. Put a little hollow in there, and then I can lay it flat, and it won't rock as I flatten on whatever grit I desire. And here is an example of that, pretty much like work in progress. But basically, at this point, I'm going to claim this is a Scandi grind to 0. Maybe you see a micro bevel there. I do as well, but this is where I'm going to have to try and explain myself, right? Because you can't not have that, as far as I'm concerned. So who does a full Scandi grind to 0? Mora, right? And how do they do that? Because it's hollow. It is actually hollow. They don't flatten out the hollow like I've done here, and you can see a trace of a hollow there. It's a little sloppy, right? It's up to the shoulder, and another one there. I full hollow ground this because the shoulder was lower, and the bevels were just way thicker, right? It was like brick geometry. It was like the flats, and then the secondary bevel, and then the primary bevel. Okay, which I say primary for the cutting one, because reasons. I'm right, you're wrong. Yeah. So we've had to take all of that in. And if you just laid this flat on that geometry and pushing forwards, right? Because then you have to take it in. I'm gonna try and sketch this on a piece of paper better. Okay. So what do Mora do, right? Let's go back to that. I'll zoom in a bit. Okay. Mora. They, from the stock, they use wheels and they cut hollows like this. It's actually a hollow Scandi grind. Okay. And so that up here just makes a mess, and then you come in later with a belt or with something flat or with a larger diameter wheel and go and shave that off there and there, and you get all the angles right, and it looks neato burrito, and it looks like 0, meaning nothing, absolutely nothing. Okay. Now, what I started out with is flats, thick stock, by the way, as well, flats. And then here's my apex. Okay. Bang. I'm exaggerating a little bit, like bang, bang, But, yeah. Fighting knife geometry doesn't cut for crap unless, you know, you're slamming it into something soft and fleshy. And so what I have to do is, I don't even want to keep that because that's factory steel. But let's say I want to keep as much, you know, to start out with. I don't want to touch it. So I want to cut like this. But if I just have something flat, again, you know, now I take this and I try and put it on something flat, it's just going to rock. I'm going to end up with a convex, not a flat. So I cut in a hollow, something like that, and that lets me cut like this. Cut, keep cutting, right? And stay off this. Stay off and try not even put pressure on here. Try and keep my pressure here. No, this is unusual because usually you cut a bevel from, you know, the apex back. But, well, it is, the apex is cut. Now you got to remove all of this, trying to not put stress in this area. And if you're just laying it flat and trying to eradicate this, you're going to stress that so that you're never going to have a good apex. Okay. So I've realized now that the genius of the hollow thing is that it's not just that it makes it a lot quicker, because it's always a lot quicker to remove a small facet and then another one and then another one, to just lay flat and then go. But it's much less stressful for the steel. You got to respect the steel, okay? I've been very respectful today, hours and hours, with this M390 blade of the chippy steel, yeah? So they say, right? And Connor Chop says he doesn't think that there's a blade in the world, Scandi ground to zero, in whatever steel, that will pass the Beta's toothpick test. So let's go for it. Oh, and Jimbus Maximus pointed out, we're going for maximum flexion, right? For maximum stress. We want the toothpick, instead of just being on the hard board, we want it to be flexing so that it can pinch in onto that apex, and then either it's going to finally rupture, bang, and there's an explosive impact-like force there on the apex, or you pretty much cut the whole way through. Which means that by the time you're getting right down to the bottom there, it's pinching really hard, right behind the edge. So either way is the most stressful in that regard, but in this regard, cardboard is much less flexible in this direction than in that direction. So we're going for maximum flex, we're going for maximum stress, and we're going to use about there on the blade. This is take 2 of this video, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be okay, because it was the last couple of times. Now I will say that I don't think that this is as sharp as I can get it, because to get it sharper, I need to micro bevel. I need to apple seed. Oh, that's double fit there. But yeah, seems very cool seeing here's a piece of graphene off a pencil. Let me try that on the cardboard. Seems pretty nasty. It's making me nervous, but hey, for science, huh? Graphene's tough stuff. But I'm telling you, from when I saw this knife, I don't know if from when I saw it in photos. When I saw it in photos, I love the profile. And I thought it looked, you know, like a Sloyd blade or something. But from when I got it, I was like, yeah, well, I mean, I bet this basically needs like a Scandi grind or a Sabervex or something. And so I'm really pleased that I started to get on with that. And once I started, and once that video came from Connor Chops, like a challenge, I'm pretty sure this knife can do it. And I've been doing some spoon whittling now. I don't know where I put that spoon, but here's a nice piece of cherry burl random thing. I mean, this is pretty good whittling. Yeah, I kind of want to keep this stick so I can hold on to it while I whittle on this cherry burl, but see how this reacts maybe. I'm ruining it. I mean, it cuts. Oh, it's so tortured and nasty, this stuff. Yeah, it's a very shiny finish. But yeah, just that little bit more convexing at the edge, a little bit more thinning out. I think, raise these shoulders a bit, get rid of these hollows finally. But bit by bit now she's performing. Just like me, gone on way too long. Thanks for watching.